Hello everyone, it's Path. So today we are going to do a little bit of a review of my portfolio or my collection, and going to show it in Singapore dollar SGD because that way it look a lot more impressive. Just kidding. It's actually because this is one of the milestones that I was looking forward to breaking, the 6-digit milestone. And so as you can see on the screen at the moment, as of the 7th of September, it's just crossed a 6-digit value. In terms of my collection, it's $101,000 in Singapore dollar. I live in Singapore, so it's what I'm normally more concerned about. But usually when I do my video, if I'm showing prices, sometimes I will actually, most of the time I'm showing them in American dollar USD, because I know actually many of my viewers, at least half of you, are based somewhere else, so it's probably a little bit easier to compare and also make reference to other content creator out there and the prices at where you're from. That's why I usually also just converse and show you things in USD, but today we're going to stay in SGD, and I'm going to show you something quite interesting. It's not just to boast, but also to show you what can happen when you have a sizable collection that you are keeping. So at the moment have spent about $50,000 since the time where I actually started collecting. You can see that the value at the moment is more than almost doubled, pretty much doubled. But what I also wanted to show you is that there are actually certain time, if you look on the graph over here, certain times where I didn't actually do anything. I didn't buy anything, I didn't sell anything, and you can see the value actually pretty much stays the same. And or sometimes when I'm buying certain things, the value will just follow similar pattern quite closely. But there are also times like during the February month where I was actually buying a little bit of thing. Like for example, if you look at the screen here, 1st February, the amount I have spent on 1st February is $31,900, and by the end of February I spent about $3,000 Singapore dollar. But if you look at the value from the 1st February to the end of February, the difference is a lot more than that. So 51,000 to close to 60,000, that's about $8,500 increase. So even though I only spent $3,500 in terms of money I spent in the collection, but my value in the collection actually raised by $8,500. So that means they actually outgrow the number I paid into my collection by about $5,000. That means my collection actually gained $5,000 without me doing anything, just by having it sit on my shelf, under my bed, and wherever I can find space. But what is more interesting, a lot more alarming sometimes, I think, it's this last few weeks. So if you can see here, on August 17 to now, I actually didn't spend much. The only thing I bought, I believe, was the black boy and white flare, 3 sets of the bundle. Oh yeah, maybe the holiday calendar as well, but I don't include it here because that's something that I intend to rip. So yeah, what you see here is basically the 3 sets of booster bundle. But if you look at the value from this date, August 17, it was $89,900, and by the end of the graph, which is as of today, is $101,000. So if you just take the difference, how much is that? That is about 11,000 Singapore dollar. That means within this about 3 weeks time, my collection value actually grew by $11,000 without me doing anything. So it just grew by itself. Of course, we know if we sell this, whatever we sell, usually we are probably getting them at about 80%. Even if you sell at a full market price on the eBay, you still have to pay the service charges and handling fees and the platform fee and all that, and shipping, and that will in the end will still go to close to 20%, somewhere between 15 to 20%. So even taking that into account, this is still a very, very sizable increase, $11,000 in 3 weeks of growth. And if we compare it to what is more interesting is when I thought about what is the median income in Singapore. This is from the Ministry of Manpower, so it's definitely trustworthy data. So as of 2024, Last year, the median income monthly gross is about $5,500. So that means the growth in the value actually it's more than a median gross monthly income for Singaporean. In Singapore, this is full-time employed resident, so that's a pretty big deal, because that means actually just by having the collection sitting there is actually outgrowing what many people, or at least the median, more than half of the people in Singapore make by working really hard. So this is as a passive income, it is honestly amazing. What about if we compare to America? The only, I would say, reliable information I can find, of course, the best ones are from the census, but what I can find, it was from 2023. They probably don't do it every year. I'm not sure how it looks that way, right? Even the scale is in every 2 year. Now, yeah, I'm not so familiar with what the census, how the census is done in America, but 2 years ago, the median, this is annual income, is about $40,000. So it's a little bit lower than in Singapore, but this was 2 years ago. So if you add another 2 years, it's probably another 10% or 15% higher, something like that. But of course, America is a very big place. So some places, like the District of Columbia, the annual income is a lot higher than almost double the median. But other places like Maryland is about 20 to 30% higher. Still, if you take, let's say, the second highest state in the USA, 50,000, and you divide by 12, you will get about 4,500, something like that. So let's say 4,250, and you convert that to Singapore dollar, that will be about 5,000. It's actually pretty close to the median income in Singapore. Again, this growth in the last 3 weeks was so crazy that it actually almost doubled the median income of both Singaporean and also American. So I thought that was something that is worth talking about, because this is the beautiful thing about, and a big difference between people who are actually flipping product compared to people who are actually holding it. Because in the last few weeks we have seen crazy growth of the products, and I see many content creators, they are actually looking to buy things that have not shown a very rapid growth yet. But the truth is that right at this moment, if you are buying right now, actually you are already quite late. It doesn't mean that I don't buy anything at all. In fact, in the next video, when I'm doing maybe the next 1 or 2 video, I'm going to show you what I bought in the higher volume in the last 1 to 2 months time, 3 months time. But it doesn't mean we do not buy anything at all. But the fact is that most of this growth came from the thing that I bought last year, not now. Because if you're buying right now at a pretty high price, you will not see growth like this, because if your cost basis is pretty high, even though some of this thing they appreciate, but it will not be in such a rate, right? $11,000 in 3 weeks time, even though I only spent about $50,000 as of now for the all time, right? And I also want to just highlight to you what are the few things that actually have the biggest return or biggest increase in price in the last few weeks time. I think the highest difference is actually this Palladium Fate PCTB, because I have about 17 of them left, and recently the price increase was very absurd. I don't think you will get this price in Singapore. $670 is pretty impossible, but the price increase, it was crazy. It just shot up from $400 all the way up to $670. I'm not sure what to take of this. Yeah, this is actually USD, American dollar, $600 per PCTB. This is quite crazy. This is not Singapore dollar, so it seems like this is really pretty accurate. You know, $670 Singapore dollar seems like that's what the price is going for. People are trying to sell it at that price. If it is true, then yeah, I'm gonna be a happy boy. And the other ones that are actually growing up very fast, very quickly, was Paldea Evolve. Again, I think most of you know. So the price went up from, in the last 3 weeks, for about $466 up to about $560 right now, so about $100 per piece. And I have 18 booster boxes of this, and that's contributed to the $11,000 difference. The other one, surprisingly, is Temporal Forces. Those Temporal Forces itself is not a very popular box, but just because I have a pretty huge position in it, I have 7 cases of it, and it was in $300. Now it's about close to $330, and that again contributed to about $1,000 in the increase. Again, all these things adds up, and Paradox Reef, Silver Tempest, I don't have a large amount, and Crimson Haze actually went up quite a bit, and I bought it at a very cheap price, and it's under $50 when I bought them. And of course, the UPC, anything 151 was going up, and again, because of booster bundle, I have quite a lot. I have 35 of them. UPC only 2 pieces. But all this thing actually adds up, and that is the reason why we are seeing this from $9,000 to $1,101,000 so quickly within 3 weeks. This actually I think it beats my expectation. I did not expect all this to go up so quickly, and I definitely do not expect to see 100% gain within less than 1.5 years that I have been investing into the space. As you can see right here, back 1 year ago, I was still only invested in about $5,000, and you can see that the gap between the market value and the amount I spent was in fact very close, all the way up to even close end of the year. And then the gap just started widening and widening, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, was because of all the Scarlet and Violet boxes that are increasing in price so quickly. What am I going to do in the future? I think I've shared it in my video earlier about my selling strategy, what I plan to do, or what are some options I have, because I'm sure one of the questions you will have, people who are watching this, is that it looks nice on paper, but what are you going to do with the product? These are all just paper profit. I understand that the real profit only comes in when you sell them, right? So I have that in mind, and because I have a full-time job, I'm not so worried about whether I need to sell this immediately or whether I have enough money to pay for my bills and things like that. So I'm not so worried. So if it's still going well, I'm in no rush to sell them. If I need the money, or if there's plenty of opportunity to buy in, then I will consider start selling some of the older things. By the moment, because honestly, there's really not much things that's worth buying. Of course, I can buy things at a very high price, but as an investor, it just does not make sense. The reason why the gap is so big right now, almost double, it's exactly because I bought all these things at a pretty good price, and mostly last year. At the moment, if I manage to buy some at a rather low price, I will not be able to get them in a very large volume. So if you compare this, like Temporal Forces, I have 7 cases, even Surging Spark, I have 6 sealed cases. But Destined Rival, Journey Together, I only managed to get a few boxes at a rather good price. So I think that is the main difference between how I'm approaching this compared to when I first started, when everything is still rather affordable. That's the main difference, and how I'm viewing these changes as well, because right now my position is honestly already pretty good. Of course, I intend to keep adding on to it, and hopefully, if all goes well, if everything goes to plan, according to my plan, then maybe in another 5 years time, hopefully I have enough to really complement my retirement plan, something like that, right? Who knows, maybe in 5 years time this will go to $500,000 or something like that, or even close to $1 million. But that will be quite scary to think about, honestly, because if it really goes to that, I'm not sure I can still rely on selling on Facebook Marketplace to liquidate my things. But I know there are actually people who do consignment in Singapore even. But I'm going to start looking into that when I start thinking about selling in large volume. But for now, that's not something that's very urgent yet. The only urgent thing for me is how to find products at an affordable price. If I can't get them, I'm not in a rush to spend my money. So I'm okay holding a little bit of cash. And I think the most important thing is, if I don't need the cash, if I don't need to cash out, then I should keep them invested because of what happened here. I think it's a good reminder. Things like this can happen in the next, bull market when it comes around again. I'm not surprised that the same thing will happen again. Suddenly all the boxes just go up by a big step, and then suddenly you It's almost like you win a lottery, and that's a nice feeling. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to share today. So let me know what you think. I'm sure many of you experience the same thing, especially in the last 1 to 2 months. If you're holding product, I think you probably have the same feeling. So let me know how you approach this, what you feel about this, and whether it affects your future decision. Right, see you in the next one.